All righty. So thank you all for coming. First of all, thank you to Nvidia for having us here. As you can see, this is a gorgeous space, and when you go outside where we will have our networking, you'll get the full extent of what they have done with the campus. They tell us we are the first event that they're hosting this year, external event. So, and you guys are all the guinea pigs for that, so a big congratulations to all of us for that. No, but really, thank you to all of you for coming. We're expecting more people. I'm sure that more and more people will keep streaming. We do require masks indoors. This is an NVIDIA requirement. You do not need them outside. So at the networking portion, you're welcome to take them off. We are suggesting that everybody fist bump, do whatever you want, hugs, handshakes, but fist bumps are safe and encouraged, safer. The bathrooms are outside as you go out on the doors to the right. Please take all your stuff with you when you leave this room. Otherwise, NVIDIA will sell it. They said they you know. The presentations are going to be done here inside. The network will be outside, as I mentioned. We're going to have 9 presentations today, 5 minutes from Sanjay and I, followed by 5 minutes from Kimberly, who is representing NVIDIA, and then 7 of our entrepreneurs, who are all, I believe, seated here in the front. Everybody's presenting for 5 minutes. Each speaker, if they have time, they'll take a couple of questions. If they're not able to get to questions and you have a burning desire to ask something, please tackle them outside at the networking. Just tackle them, or you can email them afterwards. We do have gifts for all of you. We have wine glasses, Tau Ventures wine glasses. Please drink in them. Please take them home. Please don't take all of them home. Ideally 1 per person, but if you want to take it for somebody else also, please feel free to. There's Wi-Fi in the building. It's here on your name tag. It's also written over there, the password. We do hold events pretty regularly. This is the first big event that we're doing in person, but we actually held 3 others this year. 1 in Boston, 1 in New York, and 1 also here in Silicon Valley. And conditions permitting, we'll be hosting many more of these. So you're all welcome. If you want to hear more about them, please join our newsletter. You can sign up on tauventures.com. Please take photos. Feel free to share on social media. Feel free to tag us. Feel free to say great things about Tau Ventures. If you want to say great things about Amit, Sanjay, Kush, and Sharon, you're welcome also, but you don't have to. Just say good things about Tau. And with that said, have a lot of fun today. So this is us without the masks. I think most of you know us, but very quickly, we worked together at Norvest Ventures about 13 years ago and decided that, hey, we should start our own fund one day. It took 10 years in the making, and here we are with Tau. I've built a company before. I've worked at another VC fund before. I started my career at Google. I'm technical. I was trained in computer science and sort of medicine, and I focus on healthcare in the fund.
Yeah, as Amit was mentioning, we both used to work together at Norwest and bring a lot of those principles here, but AI has been something that we've been passionate about for years. Amit was at the Stanford AI Lab, I was at the MIT AI Lab in college, and it's something that from NVIDIA and others out there has become infinitely easier today, and that got us really excited about having a fund that's focused in AI first. We're also joined by a bunch of, some of them are here, a group of venture partners, advisors. Hopefully you can get a chance to meet them. We're really thankful to them that have been participating in deals, referring deals, and really giving us advice through the process. Do you want to highlight our new additions to the team? Kush
and Sharon, just get up so everybody can see you guys.
Sharon just recently graduated from Stanford, and Kush as well with an MD, and Sharon from the CS program, and Larry's here too. And Ravi Varma is somewhere in the back, I think, too. But a great group, and if you can't find us, please connect with them or refer other folks to them as well as we work with people.
And we do have an extended team. If you can't see it here on the slide, they are on our website. We have been very fortunate to build a network of just over 100 CIOs, CTOs, CEOs, CMOs, And they provide us guidance, they provide us diligence, they help us with sourcing, they connect with our portfolio companies. Some of them have gone on to serve on the boards of those companies, invest in those companies, co-invest with us, and help with the customer traction. So one of the values we believe in is let's build community, let's help everybody help each other. So if any of you are interested in being an advisor, there's no formal commitment, just talk to us. We'll be glad to have that conversation. You want to talk about the fund?
Well, you go for it.
Okay. And here's the story of the fund. So we started it officially August of 19. We closed that fund in 2020. We were looking to get started with something, and the original idea was 10 to 15 million. We ended up closing that at 17 million. We did 25 deals. We got 3 exits, including a 2.1 billion IPO that we'll share in a bit. That fund is doing phenomenal. I'm very proud. Thank you to all of you who believed in us. It's at 2.8x right now. Last year, we saw signs of this, so we raised another vehicle. It's an opportunity fund, which basically allows us to put more money into our portfolio companies and opportunistically invest in non-seed deals. Our focus continues being seed, but a little bit beyond seed occasionally. And that's how we got to just about 50 million. This year, we started our fund 2, and we kicked it off in April. Today, we're at 34 million. But the really big news we have is we're doubling that fund size. We just got a commitment from a large family office that's doubling that. So we're moving towards final close right now. And our thesis is based here in Palo Alto, but investing all across the US. In fact, 50% of our investments are outside of Silicon Valley. AI in healthcare, AI in enterprise. We do a little bit of AI in automation, so logistics, transport. It's about 10% of our portfolio. Our check sizes have been increasing. At the moment, they are 500,000 on average.
Yeah, and with this new fund, we'll be stepping that up to $1.5 million. We had a couple exits out of the first fund. These are some pictures. One was Toshin. It was an AI platform for drug discovery. They were bought for $100 million by a company that ended up going public at a $2.1 billion valuation. And a second company that we're invested in was called Rubicon MD. They provided a platform for doctors to get second opinions. They were acquired for $130 with an earnout up to about $200 million. So really excited about that coming very early in the fund's life cycle. And this is our portfolio. It's 35 companies. Hopefully, I know there's some entrepreneurs here. Hopefully, your logo will go up there. But 2 things that we really like to do for our companies is, 1, help with customer introductions. And that's where folks here, that's why we do a lot of events. So we can build community and connections can be formed here. And that oftentimes just comes from these informal gatherings. And the second thing is helping all of our portfolio companies raise the next round. Every company that we've invested in has gone on to raise that next round after we came in. And it's from some of the most well-known funds out there, Kleiners, Lightspeeds, and others that you've probably heard of before.
I was going to do a selfie with the audience. So once again, our areas of interest: enterprise, health, and automation, logistics. Health is just over 50% of the portfolio right now. Enterprise is just about 45%, and the remaining portion is automation, logistics. We'll continue focusing on those 3. Our definition is that the CEO must be based in the US. We live in times where teams are distributed. We are totally comfortable with that, but we want the CEO to be here in the US. Rest of the team can be anywhere. Your core market should be the US. If you're using another country, another geography as your go-to-market, that's also totally okay. And some folks might be asking, why now? Why AI? And I think Kimberly, who is the next speaker, will touch a little bit on this also. We see several trends that have come together to allow for AI to be done now in ways that wasn't even possible before. We're both computer scientists by training, so we've been waiting for this for 20 years. There's a lot more data, there's a lot more storage, there's a lot more computational power. You can actually have more chips, more APIs, more algorithms. There's more devices and sensors. I mean, practically everybody in the world now has one of these. So it has all allowed now for you to build companies without necessarily having a PhD in machine learning or computer vision. You can apply it. And that's the fundamental thesis here, that you can take the tools that have been built to solve problems you understand really deeply, whether they're cancer detection, whether they're public safety, whether they are cybersecurity or whatnot. And other entrepreneurs will share that in more detail.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at many of the teams you're going to hear from today, a lot of them include this interesting balance between maybe a doctor and a computer scientist, or someone from cyber and another AI expert. And so really finding that application of a workflow and finding an interesting data set and being AI first is one of the things that we look at. This is a survey from McKinsey, which just kind of, the highlight here is basically each functional role, and this is a recent survey of how much AI has been adopted. But if you look down the list, every role in organizations today is being impacted by AI. And so companies many of our companies you're going to hear from today have targeted towards some of these functional areas. On the other side, they're targeted towards the industry side. And we'll hear from healthcare, cyber, and enterprise companies as well. That's good.
I got my selfie. So, by the way, the event is being recorded, so these slides will be available afterwards in case any of you want to share them or look at them afterwards. But this other graphic here, you can see how, this is another survey showing how much more improvement in efficiency and productivity AI is bringing. There's a widespread recognition of this. And I focus particularly on healthcare, so let me just speak on that as an anecdote. I went to my wife's residency graduation, and the dean spent 45 minutes talking about how the doctors should embrace AI, not fight it. That AI was here to help them be better doctors rather than take away their jobs. That is a seismic shift. This acceptance, this cultural acceptance in verticals that were previously much more resistant and hesitant towards adopting technology. This is another graphic basically showing how funding is going up. Now, we all know that 2022 is different than what happened last year, but the overall pattern, if you look at what was going on pre-pandemic, remains. There's increasing amounts of money, more entrepreneurs, more VCs, and the whole cycle is being fed around AI.
And I think we can just carry on. I mean, I think what we're hoping everyone to work with us and join our community. If you want to be an advisor, reach out to us, refer companies to us, come speak at our events. We do a lot of roundtables as well, and contact us at the email address. This is feel part of the Tau community, and AI here is as big as some of the biggest trends we've seen, whether it's mobile, cloud, and so forth. And I think we're still in the early innings here of the seed that's it's going to change after this. So thank you. We've got now the entrepreneurs that are going to come up and speak. Tau is an investor in all of these companies, and let's turn it over to Nvidia first, Kimberly's going to be speaking first, and then we'll go to the entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Sanjay, Amit. Oh, fantastic. Welcome, welcome. This is only my third or fourth time being back since the pandemic's here, and we've erected a whole new building called Voyager that you're going to get a beautiful view of. So, Tau, thank you for setting this up. This is an exciting night. It's a beautiful night. I think we got all stars aligned to make this happen. So I'll just take a few minutes. Right as you were flying through the end of your talk, you touched on so many critical elements of what's changing in the world today. I've been at Nvidia I'm now the VP and GM of healthcare. I've been at the company going on 15 years. I started the healthcare practice 15 years ago when we realized that accelerated computing was going to be needed to transform this industry. New CT scanners, new diagnostic imaging applications, new genomics applications were going to be enabled. And of course, like everybody else in the 2010 era, also then realized what AI was going to do in this industry. And since then, we've been starting to build computing platforms to serve it. So let me, oops, I went the wrong way. Go through this a little bit. Again, welcome. So you are here, by the way, in Endeavor. It's called Endeavor. We're going to be spending dinner in that courtyard, that beautiful courtyard that connects the two. And that's Voyager that just opened earlier this year. And it's just such a fantastic campus. And I hope we can get back to it soon. But we need all of your help and your great ideas using AI to get us out of this pandemic and into a healthy nation and world soon. So who knows what deep learning is? Raise your hand. Awesome. Does that picture kind of remind you of a neural network? It should. And it's actually, it tells you a bit about the architecture of our company. And so I like to share a little bit about this so you understand NVIDIA as essentially a network layered cake. A lot of people know us for GPUs and gaming. You look very familiar to me. Okay, sorry. And so a lot of people know us for being a hardware company, being a chip company, and absolutely we are. We wake up every day and we have to be superb at that. But it's not enough, especially in an industry as difficult, challenging, and domain-specific as healthcare. We have to go far beyond that. And so over the years, we've taken what are the 3 most advanced computing technologies: accelerated computing, computer graphics, and now artificial intelligence, and we build those into computing platforms. We, NVIDIA, are a computing platform company. We believe in ecosystems. That's what we've done ever since I came here. We're the only AI company that works with every other AI company on planet Earth. We work with Microsoft, we work with Google, we work across the board, every public cloud, across every enterprise and industry, and it's an amazing, amazing position for us to leverage the learnings of what goes on in self-driving. Has huge applicability in medical devices, for example. And so we leverage that across, and you can see all these connected lines mean that we're leveraging the technology to build computing platforms that at the end of the day, at the top layer here, we go into systems because you can't do things at a chip level anymore. It has to be done at a system and a data center level at the scale that's necessary to be really innovative. And then exposing these 3 technologies, advanced technologies, to the domains. Just as Amit was saying, we need to make this technology accessible to domain experts. It is, but it still needs to be even more accessible. And that's what we focus on here at NVIDIA. We invented our platform, computing platform for healthcare. It's called NVIDIA Clara. It's after Clara Barton, not Santa Clara. She was the inventor of the American Red Cross, and it's a platform that helps people. So that's exactly what we do here. We realize that beyond medical devices is where I started. However, they are the things that are creating this digital biology revolution that is causing healthcare itself to be the largest data industry on planet Earth. And in 2025, it will be the fastest growing CAGR data industry of all industries. This is our opportunity and our challenge, as you just described. Our mission at NVIDIA is to create the computing platform and tools that are domain specific, such that a radiologist can train an AI model if he or she wishes, or a bioinformatician. And that's what we do. So we're focused in on these areas to really revolutionize medical devices and drug discovery. Let's go on to, let me give you a few examples. We have a program at NVIDIA called NVIDIA Inception. We love to connect with startups at all stages. Absci is one of our fantastic companies that we're working with to build what is called large language models for biology. It's completely revolutionizing the industry as we speak. It takes supercomputers to build it, and we're helping them build it to power their AI platform. But here are some other amazing industry firsts. We've been working with Oxford Nanopore for about 8 years. They could not do and build their devices for long read sequencing technology without AI. What comes out of that nanopore looks like a speech signal, and you can put it through almost like a speech recognition artificial intelligence neural network. We help them develop the networks. We make it so they can have a handheld device, a sequencer in the palm of their hands, so they can deliver this technology far and wide. And I have to say, among almost all of these startups, what they do is they're helping to increase the accessibility of healthcare, which I hope most of you know, only 1/3 of the world's population has access to things like medical imaging, and much less to genomics, and even much less to surgery. So this is why we have, I'm so excited to have you all here and learn about what you're working on. In natural language processing, Vyasa is really creating a complete domain-specific data layer so that you can access the world's dark data, which it still is today, and we're about to unlock with all the natural language processing. Viz.ai, I think many of you have heard, FDA-approved stroke detection. Medical devices, Hyperfine, the world's first portable MRI device. It's on wheels. It can travel to the patient. It can go to far, away places. You don't have to build a whole facility to have this device inside of it. In silico medicine, hopefully you've also heard of them. They literally put their first completely AI discovered target and then a small molecule into a human just recently. It's an industry first. It's kind of the Tesla of drug discovery is the way I look at it. They started coming to our GPU technology conferences 10 years ago and put generative adversarial networks into practice for drug discovery before anyone on planet Earth, and they're changing the way drug discovery is being done. They're reducing what costs billions of dollars down to tens of millions of dollars. They're taking what takes 10 years down to 2 years. This is the power of artificial intelligence. And then Desai is another fantastic company who is doing so much to take kind of vanilla sensors and use them in very effective ways inside the hospital to increase efficiencies, track inventory, save money, which we all need, and deliver better patient care. So just a few awesome examples, and I'm sure many of you have inspiring stories, and I would love to hear them. So again, in NVIDIA Inception, I actually had the chance to start this program way back in the day. I guess it's like 6 years ago. And it was, again, really to create the ecosystem of startups, to have a vehicle to connect with NVIDIA. You need to learn about what are the latest in large language models and frameworks to develop them. We offer you that advice. I was just talking to Derek on the way in, and he was saying, we loved all the recommendations you would give to us to what is the latest technology, how do I use it, and then if you needed to, you could call someone up and get some help. But it goes well beyond that. Well beyond the technical support and infrastructure support into, go-to-market support, and when you're looking for investment, really giving you some fantastic visibility. So please join the program. It's a fantastic program. Renee, who was really supposed to be here, she's actually in Africa, helping them learn about AI technologies in healthcare. She was the organizer with Tao with this event, and she leads our global program. Of the 10,000 startups we have in the program, all AI startups, healthcare is our largest population. So we put a lot of meat and muscle globally. We have teams that can help. I know you guys are mostly focused on the US. We have a fantastic team here too. And then we have what is called our VC Alliance. So for the VCs in the room, like we are doing with Tao, is working with you to cultivate the ecosystem. If we can make recommendations, we know a lot about the technical foundations of the startups because we're working with them at that level. We can give advice on, how good is their advantage from a data perspective or from an infrastructure perspective, and we can kind of give our advice on that front, and just create opportunities to network, connect, and let magic happen in the room. So again, I appreciate you all being here. Please join the program if you're a startup, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the night because it's going to be beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. And now we'll have our 7 portfolio companies. We're just going to go in alphabetical order of the company names. So first of all is Infinitus. Shyam, please come over. And the next one after that is Iterative Scopes. And then we'll take it from there.
I do have an audio as part of the presentation, so
I think it should work.
it should work. Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. I'm Shyam Rajagopalan, co-founder and CTO at Infinitus Systems, and thanks Amit and Sanjay for having us. Funnily enough, my first job out of college was actually at Nvidia, and I was in a much smaller building way across the street, so I would always wanted to come and visit here, so it was a really exciting opportunity to come and speak in front of all of you guys. We're a healthcare AI startup based in San Francisco, and I'll walk through some of our advances. So first, we're really focused on healthcare, right? I think a lot of conversational AI companies like to build platforms, but we really want to increase the affordability and accessibility of healthcare and help doctors and other folks in healthcare really focus on patient care. That's the core of our mission. But to do that, we really want to apply cutting-edge NLP to do it. So marrying healthcare operations, NLP, to really save patients access and affordability. The other thing we really focus on is adherence. A lot of you guys might not have heard of that. I didn't before Infinitus, but the big thing about adherence is lots of patients start on medication, more complex medications, and then drop out within 6 months or a year. for chronic conditions and then kind of face a lifetime of pain. So the big kind of hurdle to that is a lot of administrative burdens around access to medication and things like that. So how are we solving our mission? Well, it turns out their data in healthcare is not accessible at all. So there's about 1 billion phone calls every year in the US healthcare system just to kind of exchange data back and forth. So for example, anytime a patient goes to a doctor's office, the doctor needs to know, can they actually administer this treatment? Is the patient covered? Is the patient approved for that specific type of treatment? And you'd imagine that they could get this data digitally, but for the most part, they can't. They usually have to make phone calls, and there's 1 billion such phone calls in the US healthcare system. So what Infinitus is doing is creating a platform that automates these phone calls. So doctors' offices and other folks in the healthcare system don't make these phone calls. They make an API call to Infinitus to say, hey, I need this information, and we get this information digitally. So I think next up, I'll have a little audio of one of the phone calls we did. So let me try playing that. Oh, I think it clicked out to a link. But
Thank you for calling the Aetna Pharmacy Helpline. Utilization of this service requires that you have your NPI or NCPDP number.
Can we increase the sound, whoever is in IT? No? Yes? Nobody? Okay. You can hear it? All right. Yeah, put the microphone.
yeah, okay, cool. That's great idea.
Thank you for calling the Aetna Pharmacy Helpline. Utilization of this service requires that you have your NPI or NCPDP number as well as the prescription number. I am an insurance verification digital assistant.
All right, and also the NPI.
The provider's NPI number as
And the member ID.
the patient's ID number as
All right, no problem. My name is again is Kayla. That's Kayla. U as an umbrella is the initial to my last name. This is the pharmacy helpline.
Maybe I'll stop the demo. So, but if you were able to hear the demo properly, I think what would show is that oftentimes doctors are calling into insurance companies and saying things like, "Hey, I have this patient, Shyam Rajagopalan. He's here today, and he's going through this kind of complex treatment. How do I make sure that he's actually covered for this?" And the insurance company and the doctor's office will have a pretty complex interaction, like, what's the patient's name? What's their date of birth? What kind of insurance policy do they have? What other treatments have you tried before? And our digital assistant is able to kind of answer all of those questions because it's sitting in the context of the doctor's office. And second, the doctor needs to get a lot of information like, hey, how much does this cost the patient? Is there any kind of evidence I need to submit in order to actually get the approvals and things like that? So having this long back and forth conversation that actually takes hundreds of turns, sometimes goes to 30, 40 minutes long. And that's where we really have the expertise. So I'll skip over this and maybe go to the next slide. So where are we today? We have about 10 plus use cases supported. So what we call a use case is a particular workflow that happens in the doctor's office. So one workflow could be checking for approvals. Another workflow could be a doctor needs to tell a pharmacy that, hey, I'm submitting this medication for you to fulfill. Another workflow could be a doctor requesting an approval from an insurance company, or a pharmacy saying, hey, actually, this patient showed up to my pharmacy, not yours. Would you mind, transferring the pharmacy over to me? So, and the process of our machine learning systems is that we really focus on use case by use case. So whenever this kind of workflow would happen in the doctor's office, today they would go and spend an hour on hold kind of having this conversation. But instead they would come to us, we would automate the phone call end to end and then give them back the data that we need. So today we've supported about 40,000 doctors in the US. For context, there's about 1 million or so doctors in the United States. So we have about 4% market reach or so, which we're pretty happy about because, when we got into this field, a lot of people warned us that healthcare can be slow moving for a technology company. So kind of having 4% market reach within a few years, we're very confident that there's an important problem to solve that, really addresses a lot of the challenges that doctors' offices have. We've automated about a few 100,000 phone calls for our doctors' offices. And then in terms of kind of the technology part of it, where we really succeed in compared to other conversational AI agents is having super long conversations. So these conversations that we have sometimes go 30, 40 minutes long, and then we're able to maintain context and dialogue state across the super long conversation. And the other thing that we really succeed at is information exchange. So a lot of traditional conversational AI agents focus on just answering questions like, what's the patient's name, and then being able to answer it. But we're able to collect all of the clinical information that's needed to kind of process that exchange and summarize it for the doctor's office to kind of neatly extract on. So both conversation kind of intelligence as well as information exchange. So, and then what's up next for us, I think asks for all of you guys. So we really focused on the doctor's office today, but would love to apply our technology to other areas. So going to pharmacies, going to health systems, going to ambulatory service centers, all of these systems across the US make tons and tons of phone calls. So in order to do that, we need to really scale up our machine learning systems and NLP and build a platform out of it. So world-class NLP talent is something that we're looking for. So I would love introductions. And also would love to kind of get introductions to great product and marketing and go-to-market leaders, because as we kind of expand from one industry, like the individual providers' offices, to all the other industries that we want to serve, would love to kind of scale up our go-to-market team. So thanks, everyone. Yeah.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am Karen Tay, representing Iterative Scopes. I'm the head of strategy and operations and incoming chief of staff. So first, thank you, Amit and Sanjay, for inviting us. Tau Ventures was one of our earliest investors, and Kimberly for having us as well. We definitely use Nvidia in a lot of our computer vision work today. So let me tell you a little bit about the genesis. My founder, Jonathan, he's not here today, but he's a surgeon by training, and he spent years building hospitals in Cambodia. If any of you have been, it's one of the most countries with the lowest healthcare access, definitely no imaging available there, very, very low access to surgeries, for example. And he was wondering there, as he built hospitals, is there a better way to scale equity in healthcare access? And he concluded that really technology is the highest leveraged way to achieve this, and that's why Iterative Scopes was born. Right now, we are establishing a new standard of care for the detection and treatment of gastrointestinal diseases using computer vision, and that's really driving towards that mission of healthcare equity. So we've been here with Tau Ventures 2 years ago, and since then, I want to share a little bit about our progress. Right there, you see our leadership team. We were 20 people 2 years ago, and right now, that's just our leadership team, 20 people. We're almost up to 200 people in total. We raised $180 million towards our mission in the last year, and our team has just grown from strength to strength. We started looking at our Scout device, looking at polyp detection. Now we've scaled to new diseases, new business lines, and we're just growing from strength to strength now. So before I get into the details, Amit had a special request to show you a video of a colon, and he said that it would be very appetizing. I beg to differ, but anyway, let me just start it to play it for you. Colonoscopies are the main way that, all right, is it playing? Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, Amit's dream is dying right here. But colonoscopies are the main way that doctors diagnose diseases in the intestinal tract, right? And that involves inserting a video of the colon. What our initial product, Scout, did was to do a bounding box. In real time, as you move to the colon and the video and the colonoscopy, Scout highlights the polyps. And these are precancerous polyps, right? We are able to detect 27% more than an expert doctor, the top doctors. And this was recently published in Gastroenterology, the top journal in the world, on these issues. Our Scout algorithm is super effective, and hence now we are undergoing we've submitted to FDA for 510K clearance. We also have a partnership with Provation, which is the largest endo writer. Endo writers are used by doctors to document procedures that they do in the colon, right? So Provation actually is in 3,800 sites and 22,000 endoscopic suites today, and they're our go-to-market partner for our Scout devices. Well, that was really our first product, and now I'm going to, all right, I mean, your dream come true. But yeah, this is a bounding box. The Scout detects it in real time, detects the polyps, and definitely brings down the risk of colorectal cancer. across the sites where it's used. All right, I'm not going to complete it, sorry. But moving on, we've since scaled our technology to a new disease called inflammatory bowel disease. Does anyone know what that is? Inflammatory bowel, all right. For those who are familiar, it's a chronic, very complicated and painful disease to have, right? And it affects about 3 million Americans today and grows at 2%. But actually, the real growth in incidence is outside the US. Sometimes it's called a Western disease because where diet and Western culture and Western hygiene standards go, you tend to see an uptick much deeper in the developing world. It represents about a $50 billion market. What is very interesting about IBD is that instead of a single clinical feature, which we detect with our SCOUT algorithm, we detect multiple clinical features such as erythemas, ulcers, and it's not just about presence or absence, it's also about continuity in the colon, as well as the combination of factors. So 2 expert human readers can only agree 50% of the time when they look at the same set of images on what is the severity of inflammatory bowel disease. And you can imagine then the challenges with diagnosis, with treatment, and for pharma and payers, the effectiveness of the drugs. And you know it's effective if you can't objectively say what the score was before and after the treatment. So this turns out to be a very large market, and we've developed many different business lines and revenue streams. Sorry, this mask. Our clinical trial recruitment and patient selection business line, we use our algorithm to identify patients who are very likely to qualify for clinical trials. So we collect these videos across sites in the US performing colonoscopies, and we are able to tell, using our machine learning algorithms, which patients are very likely to qualify for clinical trials. And if you work in pharma, you know how expensive it is for every day wasted. Every day you don't close your clinical trial recruitment because of a lack of patients or a lack of suitable patients. We're also working with Provation to automatically document what happens to the colon from video to text, right? And that not only boosts workflow efficiency, it also allows us to look at the patient's condition over time, longitudinally, objectively over time, and boost the standard of care that he receives. And finally, this is my last point. This is allowing us to go into the idea of market intelligence, which we're now working on with our partners. That means that if we have this data from all the colonoscopies happening in the US, not just longitudinally, but across our large network of sites, we're able to provide insights on the condition of the colons across the US, but also the progression of disease, which drugs are being used, which biologics are being used, as well as which medical technologies are being used. And these are our new product and business lines that are coming up as a result of our tech development. All right, just before ending off, again, we're looking for top-class engineering and product talent to join us, not unlike my friend before us. This is definitely a very competitive space. One day at Iterative Scopes, we like to joke, it's like 1 month, because we are such a scrappy team that just keeps improving. If you go off for a holiday for a week, you're like, wow, new company, wow, we've improved so much over this last week. So anybody who is not only super talented in the engineering and product sphere, as well as passionate about equity in healthcare, please send them our way. Thank you very much for having us here.
All right, my name is Manu, Sharma. I'm founder and CEO at Labelbox. Labelbox is a training data platform and infrastructure product for building AI applications. And the reason Labelbox as a company exists is because when it comes to building AI systems, AI models in production, most teams, actually over 80% of companies stall before they can go convert their prototypes into production. And in fact, in enterprise, like over 90% of their projects are basically not going anywhere. And what we believe, and the reason why these companies are having a hard time taking models into production is because the iteration cycle for developing models is super slow. it takes months for any team to go from an idea to actually having a model that they can prototype or they can show. And usually the process to build these applications starts from labeling data. Teams have to then train their models. Then they've got to test and evaluate these models. And lastly, select the right data for the next iteration so the model learns from the new data set most effectively. In fact, when you compare the workflow to like software development, in software development, we can basically prototype from an idea to an application maybe like within an hour or maybe days. But AI is super slow. Like it takes weeks, months to actually go through one cycle. And that is exactly what Labelbox is solving. We are we build a suite of products that essentially work together to enable data science AI teams to rapidly iterate and ultimately accelerate their path to production. We have products that we basically have 3 products. We started with Annotate product about 4 years ago, which is a labeling system that enables teams to label data in any configuration across very popular data modalities such as images, video, medical imaging, text, and so forth. And it allows people to also, teams to label our data through labeling teams around the world. And soon after that, we've expanded our products to other segments. So Catalog is a data management product that allows people, the machine learning teams, to essentially organize all of the unstructured information in one place and enabling them to search, explore, analyze, and more importantly, select the right data that they should be using to train their models. And then our most recent product is Model, which actually helps and speeds up model training among AI teams. So all of the data, of course, is labeled in Labelbox. We have products to prepare the data for model training jobs, orchestrate these model training jobs, and more importantly, test and evaluate these models before the model is released to production. Very similar to testing that happens in software development using CI/CD workflows. So we are used by customers, or our customers are very broad across numerous industries. If you book a place in Airbnb, chances are that our product is powering that experience. A lot of that is actually powered by AI systems behind the scenes. If you're actually using Peloton and using kind of the training kind of coaching program, a lot of that is actually powered by computer vision nowadays. We power that system. Of course, OpenAI, so if you're using GPT-3 AI systems or DALL-E, again, those are some of those systems are built with Labelbox. But one of the coolest things of Labelbox is we have so sheer amount of exposure across all domains and use cases. From John Deere tractors of the future actually have GPUs. They understand the weeds, undesired plants, and they have a robotic system that kills them right away and reduces cost of application of herbicides by, I think, by 90%, which is insane. And just to give you some perspective, the cost of herbicide application is nearly as equal to cost of tractor. So, these completely new business models are emerging. Like you might as well just give tractor for free and have software subscription to do these kind of things. So so customer all across the board. We serve commercial companies in the United States and America, as well as a lot of the defense use cases in the US as well. So that's it, Labelbox. If you are building AI applications, definitely check out our products. We are also hiring, and so if you are an engineer and machine learning engineer, then reach out to us. Thank you.
Am I allowed to remove my mask? Is it okay? Okay. Okay. Well, freedom. Hey, hi everybody. I'm Steve Raucher. Oh, and I need a clicker. No. There we go. Hi. So RapidDeploy is a public safety software business. I started out as a first responder in South Africa in 2015, and after a year doing that, was very frustrated with public safety being kind of held back. About 30-year-old technology in Africa, about 25-year-old technology in America. And we brought it to America. So that's what we did. We brought, I'm going back again. Hang on, there we go. So when you call 911 today, 911 actually doesn't know where you are if you call from a mobile phone unless you're using a cloud-native platform like ourselves. And sorry, just got some other news here. Okay, so our platform integrates with Apple and Google, and we pull in live location for 911 calls. We overlay that with live traffic data. We train a model to actually detect when there is domestic abuse using AI, and we analyze, use analytics to, sorry guys, we use analytics to predict 911 call patterns overlaid with weather and traffic, reducing response times. And we're launching telephony, so we actually have full-on unified communication. So one of the biggest problems with public safety today is that all the systems are siloed. So the data, you can't understand what your demand is, you can't understand where the demand's coming from, where your surge is going to be, and the number one problem with public safety is it's understaffed because of COVID. No one came to centers, so how do you actually maximize your staffing? So the good news is the state of California, statewide, runs our platform. State of Arizona, Minnesota, Tennessee, North Carolina, Connecticut. We've got just over 1,000 911 centers in America running our system. Just got awarded last week, $26.5 million deal in California. And General Motors OnStar, which is actually the biggest public safety agency in the world, which is kind of funny to think about. It's about a 500-person global call center. Just bought our technology to roll out of there as well. And you can't do this without stitching together an ecosystem, and that's super important because all this data that's kind of disparate, you need partners. So we pull together that location data from Apple and Google, as I mentioned, and that is when you dial 911 in America, your location is sent to my platform automatically. I know exactly where you are, like I was installed natively on your device, like an app, like Uber. But I don't need an app to run your device. I can stream live video from your phone, straight into our platform, and we stitch all this together. That's CCTV, train line crossings, launching drones, integrate medical alert profile data. All of that comes together in a single pane of glass. I grew up in a trading floor, 20-year career on trading floors, and I watched us go from 8 screens down to like a Bloomberg terminal. And I thought, if they can do it on a trading floor, why can't we do it for 911? So that's the platform we've built. And the cool thing about the sector, obviously doing good is, making money by doing good is great. And Tao obviously recognized that. Amit's a 2-time investor in us because he was part of us, 3-time investor, part of our original cohort of investors from Samsung Next. They invested twice, right? Okay. And the customers in our sector, they don't compete. So you have an incredible network effect. As you're doing good and you're actually empowering these 911 centers, they're selling us to their neighbors because they understand that the data is no longer siloed, so you get this incredible kind of flywheel effect. So all this progress, I know it's slow in our consumer world, but in GovTech and state and local government, selling to 9 states in 3.5 years is like light speed. And I'm very proud that we've got this kind of coverage now in America, which is now a primary market. I should also mention that, some investors alongside Amit are like General Motors, Samsung, Ericsson. Ray Lane was my initial first investor. That's when he came along with Amit. I think Amit wrote the memo that Ray saw, then Ray came in. So anyway, so that's who we are. We use AI again for like sentiment analysis, bringing like a text conversation. Something super personal for me and for California is during COVID, domestic abuse actually spiked terribly in California. And we were asked by the state of California 911 to try and address this problem. So we actually partnered with Twilio, rolled out a text-based engagement platform baked into the 911 system in California, and then we could, on a hang-up 911 call or hearing a call on duress, immediately switch that conversation into a text stream, and then and obviously had sentiment analysis running on top of that as well. And then we also use like AI for our translation engine, so we can communicate in 65 different languages with a call taker in English and any caller, using language detection, changing their outbound message to their language of their choice. That's RapidDeploy. Not much of an ask. We're at Series C. If anybody's interested, let me know. Thank you. Okay.
it's what an amazing collection of companies to follow. I have done a few of these at different VCs over the years, and a lot of times I'm looking at the other portfolio company and I'm like, I don't really get what they do, but every single company here is phenomenal. That's a credit to Sanjay and Amit. And I'm Nick Desai, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Renee, which I'm gonna tell you about in a second. But I want to take a moment to say something. First, I want to thank Nvidia for hosting us, but Amit and Sanjay are really, truly amazing venture capitalists, right? And amazing human beings. Whenever I want to talk to any of the VCs we invest in, they're pretty responsive. Send an email, schedule a time. When I want to talk to Amit, I say, send him a text that says, hey buddy, and we're on the phone 30 seconds later, pretty much any time of the day. And there are people in this room that have money from Tau Ventures. There are people in this room who put money into Tau Ventures. I think I'm an intersection of one that's done both. I'm an LP in their newest fund. My wife and I put our kids' college money into their newest fund. So it better work out, because my kids don't go to college. I'm calling you. But seriously, when they decided to raise this new fund, we heard about it and we asked them, and we're not the biggest LP, I can tell you that. We have 3 young kids, but we put, for us, a real amount of money into their fund because we're so impressed with the way they work with us and founders that there's no way they won't succeed, which is so obvious. So I want to take a time to say that about them. Okay, so, addendums.
Oh my God, you put the whole addendum through here. Sorry guys, that wasn't me.
Oh, here, this is me. Okay, so my wife is a physician by the name of Dr. Renee Dua, and she and I have been married for 14 years. We have 3 beautiful kids, and we started a health tech company 8 years ago called Heal. Some of you have probably heard of it, Dr. House calls and home-centric primary care. We left about a year and 3 months ago and started a new company called Renee. And the reason we named it Renee is not just because it's my wife's name, but because as we left Heal and we were like, we're gonna take a break for 3 months, right? After 6.5 years of crazy hard work at Heal, Renee's dad got sick and he was in and out of the hospital for surgeries, and he kept calling his daughter, who's a doctor. Renee, when do I take this medicine? Renee, what do I do about this? Renee, what about my doctor's appointment? Renee, I need to go here. Renee, my physical therapist. And we're like, everybody needs a Renee, but not everyone's married to or has a daughter who's a doctor. So we are building a digital health assistant. That's Renee, that's the person, not the app. You can't buy that, you have to marry that. We are building we built a digital health assistant that coordinates, communicates, and connects all aspects of healthcare. What does that mean in very layperson terms? It means you're an older American, you're a polychronic patient, and polychronic sounds like a fancy word. It means you have obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. That's 100 million people in America. Okay, 1 in 3 Americans. They're taking 8 daily medications. They have 3 doctors that they involved with. We schedule their doctor's appointment. We then arrange the ride to make sure they get to the doctor. We then deliver the medications that the doctor prescribes. We then remind them to take the medications, remind them to measure their blood pressure, get the information back to the doctor, and close that entire loop of care. And we do this with an open ecosystem of partners. And in a pilot, we were able to engage 94% of patients over 5 times a week, improve outcomes by 18%, that's lowering blood pressure, in 90 days, and improve patient satisfaction with the existing provider and health plan the patient has by 81% in 90 days. And that, if you know the healthcare market for health insurance companies and health systems, is an extremely important metric that is very closely measured. What does it look like? How does it work? We don't expect older, aging, lower health and tech literacy Americans to sign up and put in all their medications and doctors. That alone would shut people out and they wouldn't do it. We do a video call with the patient and we onboard them and we understand who their doctors are and where their pharmacy is and what their social determinants of health are and do they have enough food to eat and can they pick up their medications and all this stuff. And then we deliver across multiple interfaces, browser, Alexa, Siri, downloadable apps, a delightful lived-in experience from day one. And you're gonna see what it looks like in a second. And the best thing about what we do is that we're not reinventing the wheel. Over the last 2 years alone, about $60 billion have been invested in digital health companies. So there's an app for whatever your disease state is, there's an app for it. For diabetes, for heart health, for mental health for kids, for mental health for left-handed kids, for mental health for left-handed kids who are vegetarian. There's an app for everything. We take all those single function point solutions and integrate them, and based on your insurance eligibility and your needs, we actually use single sign-on and APIs to activate the right partners for you so that you get a whole person coordinated healthcare experience. Next slide. These are some of the data points from our pilot. Improved clinical metrics, drove engagement, improved the life of caregivers, and moved patients to a more digital health experience. And here's a video, if this works, of the actual product experience. I know people have been having trouble with videos. So let's see.
I think you have to use the clicker. Yeah.
I think I have to, what do I do? Oh. So that's Renee, where we are as a company. Tau was our very first commitment and investor and invested in our seed round, along with Quiet Capital, Mucker Capital, and Fika Ventures. If you are a health plan or health system or know someone that is, we would love to have you as a customer. We've done a pilot, we've been through the AARP Accelerator, and we're ready for commercial customers. And if you are an investor, we're raising additional capital right now, so we'd love to have you. I'm not able to stick around for the networking. I got to race to the airport to get home for my dad's 85th birthday tomorrow. So I am nick@renee.com. It cannot be an easier email address. And please get in touch. And thank you, Amit and Sanjay.
Clicker?
Oh, clicker. Where did I? Oh, here.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick because I want to take Amit up on question time. So if anyone has questions, I'll try to make this somewhat interactive. Life is basically a giant competition for sugar. What does that mean? Glucose is literally one of the most important sources of energy for all organisms, whether it's plants through photosynthesis or me as a 10-year-old sneaking Oreos into my room. And frankly, here in America, we have access to more glucose than we've ever had before in human history, and no smart way for the average person to regulate that. So as a result, today, this has become our end game. We've created $1 trillion of chronic care conditions because of our inability to manage our sugar or our food intake, from high cholesterol and diabetes to cardiovascular disease on down. And here we are, we're trying to treat these things, obviously, but all along we've been trying to solve the problems caused by obesity and sugar mismanagement rather than the underlying obesity itself. I really need to fix my formatting. 75% of Americans are now overweight or obese. I had to check this stat like 3 times because I couldn't believe it was this high. And this is a pre-COVID stat. So what do? We are tackling the obesity epidemic by creating a personalized metabolic profile for every individual out there by ingesting all of the data about your body. If you have an Apple Watch, it will capture your heart rate, your sleep data, your exercise data. We'll marry that with a smart scale, and then combine that with your glucose data and a bunch of other data points to tell you in a very personalized way what you should eat and what you shouldn't. tell you when to exercise, how long to exercise for, the intensity, the duration, all of these things that's completely tailored to your body and your metabolism. We always get asked, how do we get the glucose data? We had to build a whole infrastructure around that because you actually can't get a CGM very easily today. It's both expensive, requires a doctor to prescribe it for you. It's usually off-label, requires a pharmacy, and then software to make this all work. So that's what essentially we put together. I'm going to stop there. Happy to tell you about people much smarter than me on my team, but see if folks have any questions at all. Otherwise, I will talk about them. Thank you very much.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Jake Friedenberg. I'm representing the founders from Tonic. I'm, I think, our 5th or 6th employee at the company. I was brought on to figure out our initial go-to-market, how to sell the thing, and building out our sales organization. We just hit 100 employees and our 100th customer very recently. What is Tonic? We are the fake data company. We make very, very real, highly realistic, but fake data. Why in the world would we do that? Well, I'll explain a little bit. Tonic is a data transformation company, and we make use of things like synthetic data, differential privacy, distributed computing. We de-identify sensitive data while preserving all of the value of that data. So developers and data scientists can use it for building and testing software or for building and developing models. We strip out all of the sensitive stuff while making sure that the data still works good. And by giving you really, really real fake data that looks just like what you have in production, we help teams author fewer defects when they are releasing software. We help you ship faster because security is baked in. There's no PII or PHI or anything sensitive in the data anymore because it's all fake, and that means that you can get around restrictions that are placed on your engineering teams by compliance and regulatory and security and privacy requirements. So we're basically creating this mirror universe or alternate reality of all of the sensitive stuff that your organization has, again, completely devoid of PHI, that your engineers can iterate from. And development teams generally need data to be as accessible as possible, but regulatory pressures push for that data to be as controlled as possible. And it's hard to develop when you can't access good data because you don't have, again, good stuff to experiment or iterate against. And if you look at GDPR, if you look at HIPAA, if you look at CCPA, SOC 2, they all coalesce around this idea that production data should not be at the core, or should not be a core dependency, rather, for your data science and development teams, but they aren't really providing any useful alternatives. And most companies that we've spoken to, especially those in regulated spaces, they think, of course, healthcare, clinical studies, pharmaceutical companies, biotech, things like that. They have already done something to be compliant to their data, but when you make changes to your data to make it compliant, you impact the quality of it. You are changing it. It is no longer useful. It is no longer authentic. It no longer approximates the original. Your models don't work without something that realistic that approximates reality anymore. And if you don't have access to that data, you can't build good stuff. So we built Tonic to provide a better way. We prioritize making fake data that preserves the characteristics, again, of the original stuff. And just like any other developer-friendly ETL tool out there, we provide a central integration point for multiple data sources across your organization that ultimately feed fake data using those to all the teams and use cases and studies that need them. And since we started with developers, a lot of the initial tech that we built out was really around data orchestration and shaping. What Tonic can do when we make fake data from some kind of source set, we can scale it up. We can synthesize net new stuff. Think about taking 100 records and making 100 million records on demand for things like scale testing or validating a model. We can subset that data down. We can take petabytes of highly sensitive data and shrink it down to a couple of gigs of fake stuff that is representative of the original. It has the same statistical properties of the larger set, but now it's small enough to fit onto a developer's laptop so they can have a local de-identified dev environment to iterate from. We can also provide guarantees around the privacy of the data. So we use a lot of mathematical expressions of privacy, like differential privacy being one of those, to make sure that the data is safe. We can also make sure that we're preserving a lot of the important attributes and characteristics of the original that you need in the fake output. You heard things like, GANs came up earlier. I think we make use of variational autoencoders, lots of things that preserve the nuances and relationships of the original data in the fake output that Tonic generates, even if you don't know what those relationships are yet. So our value prop, what Tonic is letting you do is we're letting you have your cake and eat it too. Our customers are meeting privacy and compliance and regulatory requirements, but they're also enabling their developers to actually get things done and not be held back by regulatory requirements. And in today's climate, one of the best things that you can do is look into tooling that can 10x the effectiveness of everyone else. And when you can bridge that gap between utility and privacy, you're starting to make things happen and you're getting things done, and that's Tonic. If anyone else would like to know more about us, would love to answer any questions. Also happy to catch up. I think I'm the last person holding us up from hors d'oeuvres, so we can wrap this up, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, we are the last people holding you. So there's wine glasses for you to take home, there's wood-fired pizza, there's pretzels, there's nachos. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So please make your way outside. Please don't forget any of the things that you have in this room. Nvidia will sell it, I guarantee it. No, but seriously, thank you so much for coming. It's such an honor and privilege to be here. We're hoping to host many more of these.
Yeah, once again, thanks a lot for coming, and join our community, come to events, become an advisor, refer companies, and let's advance AI together. See you outside.